Welcome back. My name is Victor, the author of the File Soldier series of novels. Now let's dress some window today. In the previous episode number 24 that is, I introduced a character who went Clifford Hartley by name. Clifford, for those who have been following up these events, is one of the Shrine Tango movement's conscripts who assumes the designation senior private. Now allow me to pick a standard in my efforts to explain this rank. To be precise, I'll pick the United States. In the United States Army, private is used for the two lowest enlisted ranks, just below a private first class, that is E3, sometimes referred to as the recruit. This rank can also be held by some soldiers after punishment through the Uniform Code of Military Justice, or by soldiers punished under the code as a demotion until they are discharged. A Marine Corps private wears no uniform insignia and is sometimes described as having a sleek sleeve for this reason. Most new non-officer Marines begin their military career as privates. In the Marine Corps, private first class individuals are not referred as private. It is more appropriate to use either private first class or PFC. Now you notice that this level of ranking, the private first class that is, seems to have been substituted by the description senior private by the STM. Clifford Hartley, who seems to be working hand in hand with a hardcore kickboxer Abhilasha Dristi by name, is a man in charge of the X-Files training group 002 in Afghanistan. The author, that is myself, describes him as having been working as an exfiltration officer for the KGB, but later inducted into the STM after a window dressing mission carried out by the SVR back in 2001. As the author of this series, I would want to assume that he wears a single chevron of STM's design, an insignia you must appreciate colloquially as the mosquito wing in the United States Army. So welcome to episode number 24 of Survive. The stage is set for Mission G Prof, of course, and it surely should feel like you've heard nothing yet. Now allow me to proceed from where I left in the previous episode, that is episode number 23. By a whisper, in the outset of this acquaintance, Jake had affected to entertain me with secrets of personal nature. Ignoring the subject of our previous discourse, Jake told me that Alfred Bench had allowed his wife, Joy, to succumb to Mr. Stephen Blame's sexual advances in exchange for a situation of his liking in the Shrine Tango movement. But for Alfred, the consequences would then, as a result, turn out to be disastrous. All members of his family but his brother, Mr. Drill Tobler, died by way of an assassin's bullet. Currently, said Jake, Clifford is the team commander of the X-Files training group 002 in Afghanistan, working hand in hand with a hardcore kickboxer Abhilasha Dristi by name. I've met that man already, Professor, I said. He had been working as an exfiltration officer for the KGB. Later, he was inducted into the STM after a window dressing mission carried out by the Russian Foreign Intelligence Service, the SVR, back in 2001. Then there is this one who feels like he owns the WhistleNet. Joshua Keegan Twitter, the explosive chap, is now a subject matter expert? I asked, turning to Miles. That blunderhead is a piece of work. For those who have not the slightest idea, said Dawson Miles, WhistleNet is a social network for geeks and nerds. You've met him there, John, haven't you? In such instances, it was foolish to stare, but I guess I had to do something. They had stalked me very well at medical school. I had met him at Whistler too, but I determined to ignore that. In France, yes, I said, under very awkward circumstances, that bastard set me into the luggage hold 8 miles from Lyon. The cold commando of the STM was ferrying us to Afghanistan, remember? Yes, said Miles. The man made the crew. He threatened to roast my balls with a stun gun and beat the crap out of me if I did not cooperate. I heard them call him Chief, I said. He went by that alias. Did not know that the man would later vanish in France. They had dragged us, said Miles, just before dropping him off in Nancy. I'll confirm, by way of an eavesdropping ear I deployed at the time, that Joshua Keegan Twitter and scheduled a meeting with the Hunchback, a man I'm afraid I cannot confirm to correspond with the aforementioned contact person, the subject of interest in the Howard Green's mails. But that this man, the Hunchback, was a man well connected to the Pope, the STM, and the Holy See, I have not the slightest doubt. That's the man, Professor Willem interposed. Chief, yes, and without that salutation you would never get him to talk on Wissonet. Leave this to me, said Jake, reflecting upon Wilhelm's reply. I'll handle him. You stay, whispered Amanda as she poured me some wine. That colored me. Yes, my dear, yes, I replied with my eyes fixed upon her face. She'd awakened quiet music to which I had succumbed without reflection. I eyed her from time to time as her fingers wended their way quietly between dins of glasses, and I saw her toss glances at me as though my stray eyes was exactly what she needed. Carry on, Professor, I said. Dawn wore on. I'll go freshen up now, said Amanda. With a slight nod, Professor Wilhelm replied, As you please, dear. The preliminaries were quickly approaching conclusion. Professional adjustments had been groomed. In the guise it wore, you'd think the SCM by degrees lacked firmness to the protocols securing classified encrypted files in Kudus. Scores of times you would be deceived by a superficial laxity. The faction would wait its leisure. Severally, I had fallen for that until I grew keener senses. It was necessary, therefore, that I undertake by snail mail to enlist 5 friends into my pool. The 5 intellectuals who pursued computer science were students at Harvard. My objects of intercourse would be to create a guise in form of an online pirate company. The platform would be engaged to steal classified information and sell it for money. The 5 recruits would then furnish me with spoofed intel through a confidant who I was yet to appoint. The 5 final year computer science students were best friends with whom I had worked in my attempt to try out a computer program I had designed in Afghanistan 2 years ago. They had been deployed at the time at the Defense Forces headquarters in Detroit, United States of America, to design state-of-the-art drones to be deployed for clandestine missions in Syria. Now with that, I come to the end of my today's episode. Up until episode number 25, goodbye.